It's 2 in the afternoon.
You can count on radio.
Bob Hutchins on Buzztown Radio.
Well, good afternoon. Welcome along to Soul on Saturday, live here on Buzztown Radio. I'm Bob Hutchins with you till 4 o'clock, playing a great mix of soul, northern soul, and Motown tunes for you. Well, what a glorious, glorious sunny day, isn't it? Top temperature today of 27. We'll go into more detail about the weather a little later on in the show. But yeah, just sit outside and perhaps have a glass of wine, gin and tonic, a beer, or a cup of tea if you're so inclined. Take the Bluetooth speakers out into the garden and listen to some great soul music. Okay, let's get going, shall we? Here's the Serviceman, and this one's called Connie. Yeah, getting us underway this afternoon, The Serviceman and Connie, which was the B-side to Sweet Magic on Chartmaker Records from 1966, composed by Jim Mitchell. You're listening to Buzztown Radio. I'm Bob Hutchins. Welcome along. This is Soul on a Saturday. Ted Taylor, and that's Life, I Guess, the B-side to Be Ever Wonderful, released on OK Records in April 1963, produced by Carl Davis and composed by Ted Taylor himself.
Bob Hutchins, Soul on Saturday, great soul music live on Buzztown Radio, Buzztown Radio, Buzztown Radio, Buzztown Radio.
Up next on Buzztown Radio, this is Mellow Souls, We Can Make It. Oh, seem to have lost something there. It just suddenly cut off. Right, okay. Little technical hitch here on Buzztown Radio. Mellow Souls for you, and We Can Make It, which was the B-side to I Got My Pride. Came out on Mellow Records in 1967, composed by Silas Pfeiffer and George Lewis. There you go, not a bad little record that. Over 50 years ago now it was that four guys drove from Wilmington, Delaware to Frank Virtue's studio located on 1618 North Broad Street, Philadelphia, to record their debut single as the Mellow Souls. They were Silas Pfeiffer, Fisher, James T and Randy. And they were accompanied by their manager, Mr. Marshall, and George Lewis, who co-wrote both of the songs. And a group of local teenagers, Keith, Kenny, Larry, Johnny, and Frank, provided the music. You're listening to Soul on Saturday here on Buzztown Radio. Cam Cameron for you next. I'm a Lonely Man. That was Cam Cameron and I'm a Lonely Man.
This is Buzztown Radio, laden buzz at Dunstable and the surrounding villages. This is Buzztown Radio.
So Cam Cameron and I'm a Lonely Man, which was released on Capri Records out of Chicago. It was the B-side to They Say, released in 1968, produced by Scott Mullins, arranged by John Cameron, composed by Howard Scott and Walter Scott. copyrighted. The B-side was copyrighted on the 29th of January 1968, as was the A-side on that. I'd also like to say good afternoon to listeners of Keep the Faith Internet Radio, who are also picking up this stream of Buzztown Radio's Soul on Saturday today. Good afternoon to Woozle down there in Arundel. I bet it's just as warm down there as it is here, Woozle. I'm sure it is. Time for this, I think.
Get ready to dance.
Here's our modern room twosome.
Starting with the Summits and It Takes Two. The first of our two from the modern room, the Summits there, and It Takes Two, released on DC International Records in 1973, composed by Joe Phillips.
Buzztown Radio.
This is Woods Empire and Universal Love. That was Woods Empire and Universal Love here on Buzztown Radio.
Bob Hutchins, soul on Saturday. Great soul music live on Buzztown Radio. Buzztown Radio, Buzztown Radio, Buzztown Radio.
So, Woods Empire, Universal Love, that was the B-side, believe it or not. It was the B-side to Destiny, released on Taboo Records from September 1981, produced by David N. Crawford, composed by Thomas Woods and an R. Russell. Not too sure what the R stands for. There's quite a few Russells that have written music over the last 50 years. Now, the Woods Empire, they were a soul funk quintet from Diamond Bar in California and active in the early part of the 1980s. They comprised of frontman Thomas Aaron Woods, who composed that, alongside his sisters Linda Renee, Rhonda Maria, Iris Yvonne and Judith Ann. They all had middle names. You're listening to Soul on Saturday. Welcome along to Buzztown Radio. That was Willie Amos Hunt and Would You Believe, an A-side release initially on Camp Records here in the UK, released on the 11th of August 1967. Record Mirror reviewed it on the 5th of August. It was then released in the United States in January 1968, produced by Ben Tucker and composed by Bobby Hebb. Donald Lee Richardson, You Got Me in the Palm of Your Hand. This is Buzztown Radio.
Serving Leyden, Buzzard, Dunstable, and the surrounding villages. This is Buzztown Radio.
There you go, Donald Lee Richardson, and You've Got Me in the Palm of Your Hand. B-side to I've Learned My Lesson, released on Soulville Records in 1970, composed by Joe August, Joseph Broussard and Wardell Kazerke, and copyrighted on the 13th of November 1970. You're listening to Soul on Saturday. Welcome along. I'm Bob Hutchins, and of course you're tuned into Buzztown Radio. This is Bobby Klein, Say Something Nice to Me.
And while you're in my arms, say something nice to me, baby. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Bobby Klein, Say Something Nice to Me, an A-side on MB Records, released in August of 1967, arranged by Horace Ott, produced by Steve Kagan, Walt Levinsky and Winfield Scott, and the composer was Winfield Scott. This is Busstown Radio. And here is Dean Parrish. This is Teller. That was Dean Parrish here on Buzztown Radio with a Teller. Dean Parrish, Teller was an A-side on Boom Records from June 1966, produced by Richard Gotterer, arranged by Roy Glover and composed by Bertram Russell Burns. Cashbox and Billboard both reviewed it on the 18th of June, and on the 16th of July it entered Billboard's Hot 100, but it only climbed 3 places to number 97. UK edition of that was on Stateside Records, released on the 29th of July 1966.
Ain't no place like Motown. Listen while we play.
And we're going to start with somebody that's become a very good friend of mine. This is Carolyn Crawford, Forget About Me. On Busdown Radio. So the first tune that I played you was 14-year-old Carolyn Crawford and Forget About Me. It was an A-side release on the Motown label, which was released on the 31st of October 1963. Produced by Brian Holland and Lamont Dozier, it was composed by Carolyn herself. Billboard magazine reviewed it on the 30th of November 1963. Carolyn was with a Y initially, born 19th of July 1949 in Detroit. She signed with Motown in the earlier part of 1963 when she was just 13 years of age, sang backup vocals for many of the early Motown artists, and recorded, I think that may possibly, the one I've played you, have been her first solo venture. She left Motown in 1965 and then would go on to work with Hamilton Bohannon, becoming his lead singer, and she also released several solo albums in the late 70s. On to the second one, we all know that, I'm Gonna Make You Love Me, Diana Ross and the Supremes and the Temptations, released on Motown Records 21st of November 1968, produced by Frank Wilson and Nick Ashford, composed by Kenneth Gamble and Jerry Ross, which was misspelt Rose on the label. It entered Billboard's Hot 100 on the 7th of December, reaching number 2. It also reached number 2 on Billboard's R&B chart, and of course it was a cover of a Dee Dee Warwick song. UK issue of that was released on Tamla Motown Records 24th of January 1969. It spent 2 weeks at number 3 here in the UK. On the 25th of February 1969, then it dropped and came back on the 4th of March. It spent 11 weeks in the chart all told, entering 4th of February at 37, and its final placing of 34 was on the 15th of April 1969. New Musical Express reviewed it 25th of January. It spent, of those 11 weeks, 6 of them in the top 10, 7 in the top 20, and all 11 in the top of 40.
This is Busstown Radio.
Just want to say good afternoon to station boss Johnny Murph, who's hard at work in the photo shop in Milton Keynes, also his work colleagues and any customers that are listening in while they're purchasing produce from Johnny. Here's the Poets. This is So Young, and in brackets, and So Innocent. That was the poet, So Young and So Innocent, an A-side on Simple Records from July 1966, composed by Ronnie Lewis and E. Ward, Jaffa and Henry Murray Jr. This is Buzztown Radio, and here is a very underrated singer, remembered by the public in the UK, often for the wrong reasons. Gloria Jones, Run One Flight of Stairs.
Then I'm gonna
That was Gloria Jones, Run One Flight of Stairs, the B-side to Finders Keepers on Up Down Records from March 1966.
Buzztown Radio.
Buzztown Radio. Buzztown Radio.
Here's the Soul Partners and Walk On Judge. You're listening to Soul on Saturday here on Buzztown Radio. Welcome along. Yeah, Soul Partners, Walk On Judge, an A-side initially on Holiday Records from November 1968, composed by John Allman and Larry Allman. National release of that was on Bell Records in January 69, and it was brought out on Palmer Records here in the UK in 1969.
I'm Hutchins on Buzztown Radio.
There you go, the Ohio Players and Lonely Street. Now, the legitimate version of that was track 4 on the B-side of their album Observations in Time, which was released by Capitol Records in 1969, produced by John Brantley, composed by Jones, Webster, Bonner, Satchel, Middlebrooks and Robinson. What did they write? A note each. Anyway, there was also a bootleg copy of that released as a single appertaining to be belonging to Jomar Productions in the USA. That is not a legitimate single. This is Buzztown Radio, the station that serves Leighton Buzzard, Dunstable and the surrounding villages. You may have noticed by now, of course, that we didn't have a Born on This Day slot in the first hour. That's because sadly nobody was born on this day, and there's nobody to remember either, because no soul artist has passed away on this day today either. However, yesterday news broke that Walter Scott, one of the founding members of the Whispers, passed away on Thursday, succumbing to cancer at the age of 81. And in hour 2, we're going to start hour 2 with a tribute to Walter Scott. Okay, what's it like outside? Well, it's Scorchio, isn't it? Yes, absolutely Scorchio. And the rest of the day, well, we've got a top temperature this afternoon of 27 degrees centigrade, although the feels like temperature is around about 24. The wind's coming from west-southwest at 16 miles per hour with maximum gusts of 32. The UV is currently 6, dropping to 2 by 5 p.m. Now, overnight we've got clear skies with temperatures around 17 degrees centigrade at midnight, dropping to 15 by 3 a.m. and then by 5 o'clock it starts to warm up again. During the day on Sunday, partly cloudy with sunny spells, a high of 27 degrees, wind from the same direction, but not as breezy tomorrow, only 4 miles per hour and maximum gust speed of 8 miles per hour. UV will peak at 7 tomorrow and then dropping to 2 once again by 5 p.m. That's your weather here on Buzztown Radio. Let's have a little bit of Georgetta Banks and Sweetly and Completely. Georgetta Banks and Sweetly and Completely, initially released in 1965 on G-Note Records, composed by Mort Garson and Mac David. National release was on Dot Record in March of 1965, with Billboard reviewing it 3rd of April. There was no UK issue on that one. We're going to finish our one with Eddie Parker from 1968, I'm Gone. There you go, our final record for hour one on Buzztown Radio. Eddie Parker, I'm Gone, released in Detroit on Awake Records in February 1968. Arranged by Jack Ashford and Joseph Hunter and composed by Ernestine Lewis and Jack Ashford. It was copyrighted by Helsinki Music Publishing on the 19th of February 1968.
The current time is 3 p.m.
Buzztown Radio, Buzztown Radio, it's coming alive. Buzztown Radio. Radio.
Bob Hutchins on Buzztown Radio.
So welcome back to hour two of Soul on Saturday here on Buzztown Radio. I'm Bob Hutchins. Welcome along if you've just tuned in. Got another hour of great soul music, but we're going to start hour two on a slightly somber note with a tribute to Walter Scott, founding member of the Whiskers, along with his twin brother Wallace. Of course he's also the father of Walter Mucho Scott. I personally don't know who that is, and I didn't get time to look it up. Now, he was born 23rd of September 1943 in Fort Worth, Texas, and sadly succumbed to cancer at the age of 81, passing away on the 26th of June in Los Angeles, California. It was his buttery vocals alongside his identical twin Wallace that were the hallmarks behind hit-making R&B group The Whispers, and he battled his cancer for about 6 months and living in Northridge, California. Apparently he passed away surrounded by his family. Now, the Whispers themselves, we remember, or commercially they're more remembered much later on, but they were actually formed in 1964 in Watts, California, based in Los Angeles. The original members were Wallace and Walter, plus Gordy Harmon, Marcus Hudson and Nicholas Caldwell. Now, in 73, Gordy Harmon injured his larynx in a driving accident and was replaced by Level Degree. Marcus Hudson left the group in 1992 due to his illness, which was prostate cancer, and after his passing in 2000, the group vowed not to replace him, and since then they performed as a quartet. Active for more than 50 years, they released 25 albums. So I've got two tunes to play for you, starting with Feel Like Coming Home.
You don't have to play.
Two tunes in tribute to Walter Scott of the Whispers that sadly passed away on Thursday. We kicked off with Feel Like Coming Home, released on Janus Records in June of 1973, produced by the Whispers, supervised by Dick Griffey, arranged by Jerry B. Long and composed by Hillard Street. And it was also on the album Life and Breath. The Whispers Needle in a Haystack was the second one. B-side to Seems Like I Gotta Do Wrong, released on Soul Clock Records in July of 1970. Arranged by Art Freeman, it was produced by Ron Carson, composed by Gordy Harmon and Nicholas Caldwell. Now that was a re-recording of a song that was released as an A-side in 1967. Came out on the Dory label in September of that year.
This is Boys Town Radio.
Yeah, you're listening to Soul on Saturday. Welcome along. Good afternoon to Southside Supernova on Mixcloud.
Now, back to the music.
This is an absolute classic, Ed Crook, That's Alright. It was Ed Crook on Buzztown Radio, That's Alright, an A-side on Tri-Sound Records from 1966, produced and composed by Charles Colbert. A lot of counterfeit copies of that about. The original has Nashville Matrix stamp on it. Here's the Fabulous Peps with These Eyes. This is Buzztown Radio. Nothing but the best soul, Northern Soul and Motown here on a Saturday on Buzztown Radio. That was the Fabulous Peps with These Eyes, which was the B-side to Love of My Life, released on Wheelsville Records in '66. Produced by William Garrett, it was composed by McKinley Jackson, Ronald Abner and William Garrett.
Serving Leighton, Buzzard, Dunstable, and the surrounding villages. This is Buzztown Radio.
Here's the Legends and Deep Inside.
I can always find a girl like you, another girl like you.
Released circa 66-67 time on Pumpkin Records, The Legends and Deep Inside. That was the A-side. The B-side was Walk on the Wild Side, composed by Al Dahlstrom. The band itself from Baltimore. Here's Mitty Collier on Buzztown Radio, My Party. Taking you back to May 1966 on Chess Records, Mitty Collier and My Party, produced and composed by Billy Davis, Carl Smith and Reynard Miner, with Billboard reviewing it on the 11th of June.
Don't stop my heart. Ooh, this is
Bob Hutchins, Soul on Saturday. Great soul music live on Buzztown Radio. Buzztown Radio, Buzztown Radio, Buzztown Radio.
Get ready to dance.
Here's our modern room twosome.
Starting with this one from Richard Caton, Where is the Love? Richard Caton, the first from our modern room in hour 2, Where is the Love? B-side to Thank You on JB's Records in 1978, arranged by Wardle Kazurki, produced by Richard Caton and Senator Jones, and composed by Richard himself. Himself, born 26th of December 1944 in New Orleans. This is Buzztown Radio. Here's Jade. One down and you to go. There's quite a story to that record. It came out in 1983 as Jade, One Down and You to Go, released on Showdown Records, composed by Larry Dunmore and Robert Lewis. However, it was actually recorded by a band called Simba, and the lead vocals there are by a lady called Julia Nixon. The plan then was that it was going to be released in 1980 on KO Records as a band called Seville, with Show Me the Way on the B-side. However, there was also another group who recorded for Millennium Records called Seville, so the band had to change their name to Jade. But that was back in 1980. Now, Seville was created by Dickie Williams. They were just a studio band in 1980. Now, the song itself won the Budweiser Songwriters Contest in Washington, D.C. in 1983, and Jade performed the song in Hollywood, California, because Seville, of course, never came into reality. Why didn't they keep Simba? I don't know the politics behind it. All I know is pretty good tune here on Buzztown Radio.
I'm Hutchins on Buzztown Radio.
This is Phil Flowers, Where Did I Go Wrong? Phil Flowers and Where Did I Go Wrong, the B-side to One More Hurt on Dog Records from September 1967, composed by Phil Flowers himself. Good afternoon to Susie Pye, 1875, from Edinburgh, enjoying the tunes. Nice to have you along. You're listening to Soul on Saturday. This is Buzztown Radio, and here is Joan Regan. Don't talk to me about love. That was Joan Regan and Don't Talk to Me About Love, the B-side to I'm No Toy. Came out on Columbia Records on the 27th of June 1966. Produced and arranged by Charles Colello, composed by George Mottola and Ricky Page. Cashbox reviewed it 2nd of July 1966 on page 204, and Billboard reviewed it a week later on the 9th of July. Here in the UK it came out sides reversed by CBS Records on the 8th of July. And despite Joan Regan being an English singer, that record did come out in the US first. You're listening to
Buzztown Radio.
Bit of Ray Charles for you now. Something Inside Me. Ray Charles and his orchestra, Something Inside Me, from ABC Records, February 1967, composed by Jimmy Holiday.
And sometimes you don't come home.
This is Buzztown Radio. You're listening to Soul on Saturday. Welcome along.
Oh, baby.
Here's Barbara Mason from 1969. You Better Stop It. Barbara Mason and You Better Stop It, B-side to Happy Girl on Arctic Records, released 17th of June 1969, composed by Barbara herself.
Motown, listen while we play.
Two tunes from Motown, this one from the originals, Young Train. There you go, and that's the originals and a song called Young Train. Quite a rare tune. It's a promo only, released on Motown Records with catalogue number PR1. Now, it was intended for the mayoral campaign of longtime Detroit Mayor Coleman Young, pressed in a series of 1970s promotional releases, PR1 through to PR46, and it shares that catalogue number with a tune for Marvin Gaye and Diana Ross. It was composed by Esther Gordy Edwards and co-written by Robert Bullock, who was Esther Gordy's son and his first time writing, ably assisted by Marv Johnson. On the B-side of that was a song called Young Ideas. Such a great group, the Originals, never quite got the recognition from Motown that they deserved. Anyway, here's the second Motown tune. It's The Miracles. You never miss a good thing. This is Buzztown Radio.
You said goodbye.
The Miracles, and you'll never miss a good thing.
This is Buzztown Radio. Serving Leyden, Buzzard, Dunstable, and the surrounding villages. This is Buzztown Radio.
So taking you back to 1961 there, You Never Miss a Good Thing was track one on the B-side of the Miracles album, Cooking with the Miracles. It was released on Tamla Records on the 13th of November 1961, produced by Berry Gordy Jr., who co-composed it with Smokey. Billboard reviewed that album on the 10th of February 1962 on pages 32 and 34, and reviewed it with strong sales potential, 4-star review. It then came out as a single the following year with as the B-side to I'll Try Something New, released on the 9th of April 1962, composed by the same person, obviously, but sometimes they did change things on singles to albums, but not on this occasion. Now, there was no UK release of the album or the single. You're listening to Soul on Saturday. We're inside the final 15 minutes. In fact, we've got 12 and a half to go. So let's play another tune quick. Althea Barnes, I've Never Loved Nobody Like I Love You. Althea Barnes and I've Never Loved Nobody, released in July 67 on Coral Records. Here's Billy Washington as we go back a year to 66, Later for Romance.
Every time my baby wanna dance.
Billy Washington here on Buzztown Radio, Later for Romance, A-side on TCF Records from 1966.
Wanna dance now, later for romance now, later for romance. My baby wanna dance, girl gotta dance now.
Here's Studio Band playing the instrumental of Love You Baby, released by Eddie Parker in October 68 on Ashford Records. I thought I'd flip it over and play the side without words, just for a change. Released in October 1968 on Ashford Records.
Buzztown Radio.
Buzztown Radio.
Buzztown Radio.
This is Spider Turner. Yeah, Spider Turner, I've got to get myself together, and then in open and closed brackets, before I lose my mind. It was an A-side on Good Time Records with When I See You Baby, more brackets, My Troubles Are Over on the B-side. Came out in 1966, composed by Kenny Carter and Nate Edmonds. And yeah, the A-side of that Not a bad tune at all, is it? Copyrighted 29th of November 1965. Well, sadly, we've come to the end of another Soul on Saturday. I'm Bob Hutchins. You've been listening to Buzztown Radio and also Keep the Faith Internet Radio. My thanks to listeners on that station. I'll be back on Buzztown Radio next Saturday at the same time, and of course my alter ego DJ Bobby H will be with you tonight on both stations again for the Sounds of Jamaica oldie show between 8 o'clock and midnight. 60s, 70s, perhaps 80s, ska, rocksteady and reggae. That's coming up tonight, 8 o'clock. So enjoy the rest of the weekend. Take in this glorious weather and lock it on to Buzztown Radio here in Leighton Buzzard, Dunstable and the surrounding villages. So have a great week, folks. See you again next Saturday for another 2 hours of Soul on Saturday. Bye for now.
Soul on Saturday was a Bob Hutchins radio production for Buzztown Radio.